Not everything that breaks you is meant to destroy you. I'm Christy. Welcome to the Unraveling. Hello, dear soul. Recently, I asked you a simple question. Where is your heart right now? And what came through was anything but simple. It wasn't just answers, it was truth. Raw, unfiltered, deeply human truth. Some of you share things you've been carrying in silence, questions you weren't even sure how to ask, feelings that don't always have a place to land. And I want you to know, I see you. And I honor the courage it took to write those words, because this journey is not always light. It is not always love and alignment and beautiful transformation. Sometimes it is confusion, it is resistance, it is grief that doesn't quite make sense, and questions that don't have easy answers. So instead of rushing past that, we're going to slow down together. Over the next little while, I'm going to begin opening space for some of these questions. Not all at once, not rushed, and not from a place of trying to fix anything, but from a place of truth, of presence, of meeting you exactly where you are. Some of these conversations may feel comforting, and some may challenge the way you have been seeing this journey. Both are necessary, because the space is not here to keep you stuck in longing. It is here to bring you back to yourself. And now I do want to gently say this as well. I won't be able to respond to every question, and I won't be doing these every day. This is something I'll be moving through intentionally as I feel guided, so that what comes through is grounded, is clear, and truly supportive of where you are. But if your question is one of the ones being spoken to, trust that you are meant to hear it. Because even when the story is different, the feeling is often shared. So if you have been holding something in, if there's been a question sitting quietly in your heart, you are not alone in it. And you don't have to navigate it in silence anymore. We are going to walk through some of these together. So the very first question I chose for today is a question that many are afraid to speak out loud, not because they do not feel it, but because even admitting it can feel like betrayal. And the question is this: what if this journey is real and still doesn't end the way I hoped? What if the love was real, the awakening was real, the breaking apart, the dark night, the unraveling, the soul work, all of it, and yet the reunion never comes in the way the human heart imagined? For some of you, this is the deepest grief of all, because it is one thing to lose a person, it is another thing entirely to be transformed by love that may never return in the form you prayed for. And that can feel unbearable, because part of you wants to say, I did not ask for this. I did not choose this. I would never have willingly signed up to lose myself just to become someone new. And dear soul, that honesty matters, because too many people try to spiritualize pain before they have truly allowed themselves to feel it. But grief is still grief, even on the sacred path. And one of the most painful parts of this journey is realizing that healing does not always feel beautiful. Sometimes healing feels like resentment. Sometimes healing feels like resistance. Sometimes healing feels like sitting in the ashes of your old life, wondering why awakening had to cost you so much. And perhaps even asking, am I awakening or am I simply just heartbroken? That question does not make you delusional, it makes you honest. Because sometimes what people call a spiritual journey can also be a language we use to survive profound loss. And sometimes the label matters far less than the transformation itself. Because whether this is a twin flame journey or whether it is grief that cracked your soul open, the deeper question remains the same. Who are you becoming through it? Because somewhere beneath the longing, beneath the fear, beneath the ache of wanting to feel chosen, there's another truth quietly emerging. You're being asked to choose yourself. Not because the love was false, but because perhaps for the first time you're being shown that love cannot heal the wound of self-abandonment if you are still waiting for someone else to confirm your worth. And that can feel cruel, because the mind says that after everything I have endured, there must be redemption. There must be a reason. There must be an outcome that makes this pain worth it. But the soul does not always measure meaning through outcomes. Sometimes the soul measures meaning through awakening, through truth, through the moments you finally see that love cannot be sustained where presence is absent. And some of you know exactly what that feels like. To have someone physically beside you, yet not fully there. To love someone deeply while quietly starving beside them. To realize that even love itself cannot survive where authenticity is missing. And so the separation comes, not always because love ended, but because truth could no longer be avoided. And now you stand in the space between, still loving, still grieving, still questioning, still becoming. And perhaps the hardest part of all is surrender, because surrender can feel like giving up. But true surrender is not giving up on love, it is giving up on belief that you must control another soul's path in order to feel safe. It is releasing the exhausting burden of believing their choice must determine your peace. And that is not easy, because when the heart still whispers, but they are my home, and perhaps they are, but sometimes someone can feel like home because they were the doorway that finally led you back to yourself. And that may be the part the soul has been trying to show you all along. So if you're here now wondering whether this is real, wondering whether you imagined it, wondering whether your heart can survive what your soul seems to be asking of you, please hear this. You do not need to force certainty today. You do not need to decide the label today. And you do not need to know how the story ends today. Only you need to ask yourself one question. Can I love them without abandoning myself? Because that answer may tell you more than any label ever could. And that, my dear soul, is where the journey begins. And if this message found you in the space between love and surrender, share this with me in the comments. What has been harder for you, letting go of them or letting go of the version of life you thought this would become? And if this spoke to something within you, you are not alone in it. We will continue moving through these questions one layer at a time. And until next time, dear soul, stay open, stay soft, and stay sovereign. Bye now. You're not here by accident. Your soul knew. We'll meet again right here between the lines.